What is up, my beautiful bros? Beauty Maniac here with a full 2019-2020 NFL season prediction video. We're going to go throughout the playoffs, throughout the awards and everything, but we're going to start every single week. I want to think of every single matchup, so if this video is too long, the way I do my videos, in case you want to know, is I go through SHAREfactory, and usually they only allow maximum 60-minute videos, so if that takes longer than that, there will be a part 2 later on in the video. Or later on. I'm not sure when it'll be up, because if this is an hour video, it might take 9 hours to upload. So, and I put so far 7 hours of effort into thinking about specific players, injury history, stuff like that. So stay tuned. Just remember, this is extremely opinion based. So if I do have your team doing really bad, notice it's always possible for them to defy the odds. I mean, look at the Eagles when they lost Carson Wentz. They still won the Super Bowl. Look at the Browns last year. Everyone thought, oh, just because they got Baker Mayfield, it doesn't mean they'll do better. They still finished a lot better than they did the years previous. So there always is that. Some of this opinion is going to be based off of their performance last year. Not all of it, but still. Let's get into it so it doesn't take too long. So I will preface this before I go any further. If you want, because I can't explain fully these matchups, or else this video would take probably 10 hours. It's going to be a brief explanation, so if you want a further explanation about a particular matchup, about a particular week, let me know in the comment section down below, and I will reply back with a fuller, meatier explanation if that helps you. I will do that. Okay, we start off with Week 1, Thursday Night Football, Packers versus Bears. I picked the Bears in this one, and it's nothing against the Packers. I actually have the Packers overall with a really good record, but I have the Bears winning this one at home. Matt LaFleur's very, very first game on Thursday Night Football primetime. I like the Bears in this one. I think the underlying key factor for the Bears season is going to be Montgomery, the rookie running back. If he can have a Jordan Howard rookie-esque season, I think the Bears are going to be in a really good position. And for the Packers, I'm not going to say the coach or Aaron Rodgers. That is silly. I think, honestly, it's going to be their linebacking core, including their new addition, B.J. Goodson. Reason why I picked Chicago in this one, for at least a quick explanation, is the pass rush and the secondary can force a lot of turnovers. Devontae Adams does have a good matchup in this one. I think he will do well. And I think the score that Madden had for me after I forced the win is pretty close to what it should be. Last time the Chicago faced the Packers early on in the season, Green Bay escaped the win after being down by halftime. I don't think this happens this time. Then you have the Rams at the Panthers. I'm not sure the health of Cam Newton's ankle. I think he'll be fine by week 1. Christian McCaffrey is a beast, but I still picked the LA Rams to win this one, mainly because of their great offensive line. I think Todd Gurley's going to do fantastic. And although I do think the Panthers will do well this season, I think they're one of those teams that against tougher teams, they may be exposed. If Cam Newton pulls off some of the Cam Newton shit, but I don't know if he can week 1, especially with how hampered he's been, they can do well. Eric Weddle in that secondary for the Rams, I do think will be too much. If I had to predict the score, it would probably be around 31-21. Then you have the Redskins at the Eagles. Not much more to say about the Redskins. I don't think Trent Williams is going to be playing in this one. Their offensive line is not great. Case Keenum's their quarterback, and the Eagles have a really, really good defense. The one worry I do have for the Eagles in this one is I do not know what form of Carson Wentz we're going to be getting, especially when he's bouncing back from injury again. Not sure exactly how the running back rotation is going to work, how much Deshaun Jackson we're going to see. But I still think the Eagles open up at home with the W. We have the Bills at the Jets. This one, I actually struggled with this pick a little bit, just because Le'Veon Bell hasn't played football in over a year. So how is he going to acclimate to the very first game against a Buffalo team that's one of those teams where the talent doesn't look like it's completely there, but they really do show up when they need to, especially in divisional games. So I think this is going to be tough. Sam Darnold, I think, might have a tough game in this one, and I think it's honestly going to be the Jets' defense that wins this. Josh Allen, good young quarterback, getting better with his arm. His legs are really good asset, but I think it's going to be I think it's going to be the Williams on the defensive line and the safety play that gets the Jets the win here. I think it's going to be like 2 key turnovers, whether it be a fumble or interception, whatever, and that's going to seal the win late in the game. And then you have the Falcons at the Vikings, and this one I have the Vikings winning this one. I like the Falcons. I do. I like them this year. I think they will do better than probably most have them. Julio Jones, Calvin Ridley, one of my best 1-2 punches in the football right now. When they have the top duos of wide receivers polls that they usually have, like on Twitter, they often don't include Calvin Ridley, Julio Jones, which is weird. Matt Ryan, perennial MVP candidate lately. Kirk Cousins, not so much. Kirk Cousins is a dud, or looks like a dud, I should say. He could perform better this year. I think this one's going to ride on Dalvin Cook if he can remain healthy. Dalvin Cook and that offensive line is going to be the key to this one. That Vikings defense, I don't think, can shut down Julio Jones in the Falcons offense, but I still think it will limit them enough. Matt Bryant, they signed back on kicker, how fresh he is or whatever. I'm not sure. Maybe that will have an effect. Maybe he'll miss a kick late in the game. I think it will be close. The Atlanta Falcons are a powerful team, but I do like the Vikings' overall defense. And then the next one, you have the Baltimore Ravens versus the Miami Dolphins. And I have the Ravens winning this one handedly after the purge that the Miami Dolphins went through. No more Tunsil on that offensive line against the Baltimore Ravens is not something you want to put yourself through. The Ravens defense, no matter who's on the defense, is always intimidating. They might be exposed early on due to, I believe, Jimmy Smith being suspended. I believe I got the name correct. If not, I apologize. This game's going to ride on Lamar Jackson, though. That will be the difference maker here. I'm not saying that because, Lamar Jackson's a quarterback. I'm saying Xavier Howard and Minkah Fitzpatrick in that backfield, defensive backfield, will test Lamar Jackson for all he has. And Mark Ingram is going to need to be a power horse in this one as well. Lamar Jackson's going to have to be smart. He's going to have to show discipline and stuff like that for the Baltimore Ravens to win this one. The Dolphins can win this one at home, especially with that defense. If the Dolphins are going to win, it's going to have to be that secondary to make Lamar Jackson make mistakes. But that being said, I do think the Baltimore Ravens win. They ground and pound with a tough defense. I think it's just a little bit too much. Then you have the Chiefs at the Jaguars, Week 1. And I think the Chiefs win this one on the power of Mahomes and Kelsey. I would like to say Tyreek Hill, but I think Jalen Ramsey is going to get the advantage of this matchup in this one. Honestly, as much as fantasy football is predicting, I think Hill's mainly going to have maybe 3 catches for 50-something yards, if I had to predict. Jacksonville will stay tough in this one if Nick Foles can do what they signed Nick Foles to do. But I think that Chiefs defense is improved, so I think they'll do better. Titans-Browns, I'm picking the Browns at home. Titans a little shaky, especially with, I believe, Luan being suspended for the first few weeks of the season. I think that has something to do with it. I'm not sure if his appeal got heard yet and if that has anything to do with it, so I apologize if I have some misinformation. I think the Browns start out strong this year, and I think Baker Mayfield gets the win at home. Then you have the Colts at the Chargers. Jacoby Brissett against the Chargers defense with Ingram and Bosa, I don't think is enough. I'm going to pick the Chargers in this one. Nelson should really have a good game in this one, though, but he's an offensive lineman, and that doesn't really adequate to score. Joe Thomas never really got the Browns to the Super Bowl, so Jacoby Brissett, I think it will take a time to adjust a little bit, but it should be a good game. And then you have the Cincinnati Bengals at the Seattle Seahawks. I have the Seahawks winning this one with the addition of Jadeveon Clowney on that defense. I think it's going to carry the Seahawks to a lot of close victories. Early on, the Seahawks offensively could struggle. I like Penny and Carson on this offense, and Russell Wilson's run game should be strong. The wide receiver depth is going to be tested early on. Lockett and not really many people else. DK Metcalf, I believe, is injured, so I'm not sure I don't think he'll be playing. So yeah, Seattle at home. 49ers at Buccaneers. I think the Buccaneers win this one, and I think it's going to be off the power of their passing game. I think Mike Evans, Godwin, Peyton Barber I think will be the featured back in this one. I think he'll have a solid game, maybe 70 yards, something like that. And the Bucs defense, I think, will surprise a lot of people in this one. The Niners, I'm not sure who they're going with at running back, if it will be Breida primarily or if it will be Tevin Coleman primarily. They do have a good running back core. And wide receivers, I do question that a little bit. I think it will be a close game. I think the Tampa Bay edge the 49ers at home by like 3 points. They got the Cowboys at the Giants, opener. I do believe an Ezekiel Elliott contract will be done by the opener, or at least that's how it looks now. If not, I believe somehow Jerry Jones will get Ezekiel Elliott to at least play week 1. If not, I do think Pollard will open up admirably. This one's going to ride on the defense, though, with Byron Jones, DeMarcus Lawrence, Leighton Vander Esch. They're going to have to limit the run game with Saquon Barkley. If they can do that, they should have an easy game of this one, but that's going to be hard to do because Saquon is a beast. I think this offense is going to ride on Saquon, especially in the opener, and I don't think it's going to be enough. I think the Cowboys win by 10. And you have the Lions at the Cardinals. Lions win this one at home. I think it's going to be just a tough game for an opening game for a rookie, opening game for a rookie coach. I think Detroit having the more veteran presence, having Mike Daniels and Flowers on that defensive line, I think will help cause enough pressure. With Larry Fitzgerald and David Johnson, though, the Arizona Cardinals could pull off what I think would be considered an upset, but I'm still picking Detroit at home. And you have Pittsburgh versus New England, and this one I'm picking the New England Patriots to win this one at home. Nothing against the Pittsburgh Steelers. They look like they're going to have a very solid defense, and I love how their offense looks with Juju Smith-Schuster, James Conner, Vance McDonald, and James Washington looks to be a solid piece to the offense as well. But one thing I think makes a difference here is how deep the Patriots defense looks with Bennett on the defensive line. Winovich looks like he's going to be a solid addition as well. And then you have the secondary, who I think is one of the best secondaries in the league. I may be biased being a Patriots fan, but with Stephon Gilmore, J.C. Jackson, the McCourty brothers, Chung most likely should be suspended. I don't know if he is, but I think the secondary is going to be enough. It's going to be Juju Smith-Schuster's first taste as a solidified number 1 receiver. The key here for the Steelers is going to be that run game with James Conner, and to not overuse him, I should say, to mix it up a lot. I think that's how they will trip up the Patriots. I think the key for the Patriots here is going to be James White, and not just James White, but I think it's going to be James White and Demaryius Thomas. As weird as it says, I think the offensive star in this game is going to be Demaryius Thomas and James White. It feels weird saying, but I think it's going to be a good game. It's going to be close. Sunday Night Football, I think it's going to be a game decided by a late touchdown. One of those games. These teams usually always fight well, besides the flunker last year with the Steelers blew out the Patriots. And then we have the Texans at the Saints. I have the Saints winning this one overall. I just think they got Kiko Alonso from the Dolphins for nearly nothing. So I think their defense is going to be a little bit better than last year. The offense with Kamara, I think it's going to be a tiny bit better this year. Mainly because I think Latavius Murray does provide a nice 1-2 punch, although I don't think he's going to be involved too much. I think it's a good change of pace. Drew Brees should have another solid season. He did have a couple games last year where he disappeared, but this is the Houston Texans. Their defense, although their pass rush is solid, I think there's some holes in that secondary, and against Michael Thomas, that's going to cost them. You have the Broncos at the Raiders in this one. I think the Raiders open with a win at home, mainly because the Broncos have Joe Flacco, and I think the Raiders' defense is solid enough that the question mark that is the Broncos offense is going to struggle to put up points as fast as the Oakland Raiders offense. I think this will be an interesting one. I'm thinking like 27-23. I'm not sure how they'd get to 23, but maybe 3 field goals, 2 touchdowns, something like that. But I think it's going to be a good game. Broncos definitely have a good chance of winning this one. If I had to put percentages on it, I'd probably say it's probably 54-46 percentage-wise, favoring Oakland. Open at home, open with a win, and Tony Brown should be happy. Week 2, we got the Panthers at the Buccaneers. This is going to start going a lot faster, by the way, so this is where you might want to put in the comment section down below, because I'm going to talk really fast, and if you want an explanation, now's your chance to do it. Panthers, Buccaneers, I got the Panthers at home. I love Cam Newton in this one. Cardinals, Ravens, I got the Ravens at home. The star here, I think, is going to be the wide receiver core for the Redskins. For the Ravens. Can they perform well enough against Cardinals secondary? We will see. If the Cardinals are to win this one, they're going to need Chandler Jones in that pass rush to get to Lamar Jackson and contain him. They need to contain Lamar to have a chance. Cowboys, Redskins. Redskins, I don't think they're going to be very competitive this year. You'll see at the end when I get to the standings. Cowboys, I think, win this one behind the power of the defense. And I mean specifically Leighton Vander Esch. I think Leighton Vander Esch has 11 tackles and 2 sacks. And you got the Colts at the Titans. I'm picking the Titans at home. I love the Titans' run game and the Colts' defense. With Darius Leonard, as strong as it is, I don't think their offense can perform too well against Malcolm Butler or Logan Ryan in that Titans secondary. Seahawks, Steelers. I got the Steelers winning this one at home for their first win of the season behind the power of James Conner in the receiving game. I think he's going to have 5 catches, 78 yards, and a touchdown in the receiving game in this one against the Seattle Seahawks defense, mainly because their pass rush and run defense looks to be very solid with Jadeveon Clowney and Reed on that defensive line. Steelers offensive line, though, one of the best offensive units in the league, so I think they shine here. You got the Bills at the Giants. I think the Bills win this one in the upset. I do think this will be an upset. The Giants should be favored in this one, and I think this one's going to come down to a Giants offense versus the Bills defense with Tre'Davious White. I think Tre'Davious White makes maybe a play or two. I think this is also going to come down to Josh Allen rushing the ball against the Giants defense. I think he's going to find some holes. I think he's going to run a couple balls in. I actually think Josh Allen has 1 or 2 rushing touchdowns and over 50 rushing yards against the Giants. Saquon Barkley is probably going to carry the Giants to victory in this one. I will say that real quick, but I picked the Buffalo Bills in the upset, to be specific, the upset. 49ers at the Bengals. I have the 49ers winning this one. Jimmy Garoppolo comes out strong. That Bengals offense, I do think, still struggles with the absence of A.J. Green, Tyler Boyd, and Joe Mixon should be consistent on offense, but that Bengals defense, it looks terrible. To be fair, the Bengals offense could surprise me. But on paper, I don't think it looks good. Chargers Lions, I'm picking the Chargers at home. Overall, I don't know if Melvin Gordon would be playing or even traded by then, but I like Austin Eckler in this one matchup. And Mike Williams. I think Mike Williams will be the offensive star. And I think Matthew Stafford will make at least a couple mistakes under the force of pressure against the Los Angeles Chargers. Then you got the Vikings at the Packers. I picked the Packers to win at home. I think this one's going to rely on Aaron Jones, the running back, to be the star in this one. I would predict 90 yards and 2 touchdowns in this one against a tough Vikings defense, which would be tough to do. I think the Packers will play well at home this year. Texans at the Jaguars. I think the Houston Texans will do fantastic against the Jaguars this year, and I think it's going to come off the back of not Duke Johnson, honestly. I think it's going to come off the back of Kenny Stills. Now, with Demaryius Thomas, Will Fuller, and probably even Kiki Cutie early on in the season being the top 3 targets, I think DeAndre Hopkins against the Jaguars, especially, even if I don't think Jalen Ramsey covers him, to be honest. I think the Jaguars double him, but leave Jalen Ramsey to cover the number 2, kind of like what the Patriots do sometimes. I still think Deshaun Watson and that revamped offensive line with Jeremy Tunsil whatever his name is. I don't keep forgetting his first name, Tunsil. I'll just say that. I think they actually do better. I think Duke Johnson should probably have 100 scrimmage yards in this one. Should be a close game, though, because divisional games are usually close. Patriots at the Dolphins. Patriots usually struggle in Miami. And it doesn't help that this game's going to be in one of the more hotter weeks of the year. I think the Patriots still win this one. I think part of it's going to be the utter destruction of the Miami Dolphins roster. The offensive star for the Patriots in this one is going to be Sony Michel with 125 rushing yards and a touchdown, 1 touchdown. Chiefs at the Raiders. I think the Chiefs that win this one is probably honestly going to be a blowout. I think the offensive star in this one is going to be Mecole Hardman. Now, I know that's risky saying this. I don't think he's going to have the best offensive performance. I will say that real quick. I don't think he's going to have the best offensive performance. But I do think he provides enough of a boost. I think he's going to have 38 yards catching, but I think he's going to have 2 touchdowns in this one. Mainly because the Raiders are going to play Kelsey hard. They're going to play Tyreek Hill hard. And I think it's going to leave Mecole Hardman open. I think Patrick Mahomes is going to have a very nice connection with him early on. Because I just feel that. And then you have the Saints at the Rams. The Rams win this one at home behind the power of their secondary. I don't think they shut down Michael Thomas. It's not easy to do, but I think they limit him to under 70 yards. And I think that eventually leads to the Rams winning this one. Especially behind the power of Todd Gurley. Then you have the Bears, the Broncos. I think the Bears win this one behind the power of Mitch Trubisky. And what I mean by this one, and what I mean by him being the star in this one, is he's gonna have to make smart decisions. If he plays smart, they win. If he plays like Mitch Trubisky in some of the games last year, they have no chance of winning against the Denver Broncos. That defense against Joe Flacco on that offense, I kind of want to watch that because I don't know if I'm going to laugh or cry. Cause I wish the best for Joe Flacco, but it's not looking good. And then you got Philly at Atlanta. I actually have Atlanta winning this one, and what many probably might consider an upset. I think, honestly, it's going to be that Philadelphia secondary that loses this game. Julio Jones is probably going to have over 100 yards again, but the star in this game is going to be, if I had a guess, I'd say Ito Smith, the backup running back for the Atlanta Falcons. If he comes in and gets Devontae Freeman off the field enough to where he's fresh the whole game, I think it should be a good game. Browns-Jets, I think the Browns win this one behind the power of the Chubb, Nick Chubb. I think he's going to have a solid game. I think the Jets are going to do really well in this one, honestly. I think Le'Veon Bell's going to have over 100 yards. I think Sam Darnold's going to have probably over 250 yards. It's just, I think overall the ground game of the Browns is going to be a little bit too much. And I say that against what looks like to be a good rushing defense for the Jets, and like I said this, I don't think the Browns' rushing offense will carry them. I think it will be just enough to get the first downs they need to milk the clock at the end. And then you have week 3. I guess we're starting at the bottom now. We have the Bears, the Redskins. I'm picking the Bears to win this. Like I said, the Redskins probably aren't going to do much, and I do apologize for any Redskins fans. Rams, Browns. I do think the Browns lose this one at home. The Rams defense overall, I think, will be a great test for Baker Mayfield, a great litmus test. But I think the Rams overall will be too much. And although the Browns defense does look much improved, I think this will be also a good test for them that way. Texans, Chargers. I have the Chargers winning at home. I don't know how the Chargers defense is going to look without Derwin James, but I think this one's going to ride off of the core of Hunter Henry and Austin Eckler in the receiving game and running game, both of them in the receiving and running. Saints, Seahawks. I have the Seahawks coming close. Honestly, not this score. 14-13 is a weird score. I have the New Orleans Saints winning this one, but I think the Seahawks make it close. Again, like I said before, I think the Saints offense will be improved. I think the Seahawks offense will struggle enough that Michael Thomas against the Seattle secondary should probably feast in this one. It's probably a fantasy start, by the way. Yeah, Pittsburgh at San Fran. San Fran probably won't be too competitive in this one. I just think there's too much firepower on that Steelers offense and Steelers defense. Carolina versus Arizona, same situation here. Christian McCaffrey is probably going to feast. I'm picking the Carolina Panthers on the road. Tampa Bay, New York Giants. I'm picking the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at home. And what I would probably call an upset to be fair. But we shall see. I think the star there is going to be Chris Godwin. Then get Dallas at Miami. Like I said, Miami, not too competitive this year. Green Bay, Denver. I think this game's going to be close. I think this game's going to ride on the back of Aaron Rodgers against Joe Flacco. Whoever plays better is probably going to be the one who wins this. That being said, I honestly think it's going to be Aaron Rodgers. Oh, God. I think it's going to be Aaron Rodgers hands down. If it's going to be close, Flacco's going to have a very good game, and I don't know if he's going to be capable of that with the offensive talent that the Broncos have. Although Phillip Lindsay did look good at the beginning of the year for the Broncos, he did look a little bit questionable at the end of the year, and he did very much benefit from yards before contact, which is a stat I like to look up and judge people by personally because, you know, that can mean a lot sometimes. Then you got the Falcons at the Colts. So the Atlanta Falcons, I have winning this one. Colts with Jacoby Brissett, I don't think provide enough firepower. Chiefs, Ravens, Chiefs offense, I think will be too much in the end. Raiders, Vikings, I think Antonio Brown is going to be frustrated in this one. The Vikings secondary looks solid, and I think Dalvin Cook is going to be the difference maker. New York Jets versus New England Patriots. If the Jets want to win this one, they're going to have to ride Le'Veon Bell like a hooker on prom. I don't know what I was about to say, but still, they're going to have to rely on Le'Veon Bell. I don't know if the Jets wide receivers can provide enough to complement the run game, but we shall see. And then Philadelphia, Detroit, I'm picking the Philadelphia Eagles. Cincinnati, Buffalo, I'm picking Philadelphia at home. Like I said, I don't think the Cincinnati Bengals are going to be too competitive. They could be competitive in this one, but I don't think they will be. Tennessee, Jacksonville. Jacksonville's defense should win this one. They let me down too much last year in my predictions, but I think they win this one. And then week 4, you have the Eagles at the Packers. I'm picking the Eagles on the road here in what may be an upset, but this is when I think that defense starts clicking a little bit. Carson Wentz starts playing a little bit more solid, and the offense behind those running backs and Deshaun Jackson and Ertz. I think Ertz will be the star in this game. The Packers, although they will look solid, I think it will be a close one. It's two NFC powerhouses. Let's be honest. These are two teams that have been contenders for the last couple of years. besides the Packers last year, which is kind of an oddity, but still. Never count either of these teams out. They are capable of much more than probably... Well, they're capable of much more than what some may think. I'm not going to say everyone, because there's obviously fans that are rooting for them. So yeah, Eagles in that one. We go into week 5. We have the Rams at the Seahawks. I'm picking the Seahawks in the upset here. Like I said, the Seahawks tend to... It's been divisional matchups. It's tough to pick them. So I'm going to pick the Seahawks at home behind Russell Wilson. I think what the difference maker here is going to be Goff, and I think Goff does make a lot of mistakes. I think Goff makes too many mistakes in this one, I should say. It's not nice. I'm not picking on Goff at all, but he is still a young quarterback. He does still make mistakes, and I do apologize, but I think he will make a little bit too many. Then you got Jaguars at the Panthers. I'm picking the Panthers at home behind the power of Christian McCaffrey. Washington Redskins hosting the Patriots. I think the Patriots win this one. Will it be that kind of a score? Maybe. Washington, like I said, I don't think will be too competitive. This may be the week that Dwayne Haskins starts for the Redskins. Bills, Titans, I think the Titans win this one at home. They do have a very good defense, and I believe this is the week their offensive lineman comes back from suspension, if I'm correct. And if that's the case, I think Derrick Henry should have a really good game. Ravens, Steelers, I think the Steelers win this one at home, and I'll say it again, I love how their offense is going to look. Cardinals, Bengals, I think the Cardinals win this one. Bengals defense looks a little bit too weak, and I think Christian Kirk is going to be really good for the Arizona Cardinals. In this one, will Kyler Murray have a good game? I don't think necessarily he'll have a good game, but David Johnson should provide enough of a boost to get past that Bengals defense. This might be one of the best chances the Bengals have of winning the season, but I still don't see it. Atlanta, Houston. I think Houston wins this one on the back of DeAndre Hopkins. I know that's maybe seemed like a cop-out, but I think he's going to be double covered, and I think he's still going to put up numbers. You got Tampa Bay at New Orleans. Alvin Kamara is probably going to be the star in this one. I do like Tampa Bay to score more than 8 points. I think this one's going to be 35-31. I think it's going to be a good game, though. Minnesota, New York Giants. I don't think the passing game of the Giants is going to be that good enough to stay up with Minnesota. It's going to have to be the rush game, but I do like the Minnesota Vikings run defense. Chicago versus the Oakland Raiders. I like Chicago in this one. I like that run defense, and I like that pass defense of Chicago. Mitch Trubisky should do enough. Montgomery should do enough. I think they get a couple turnovers, maybe a couple defensive scores, and I think the start of the game be Khalil Mack. New York Jets versus the Philadelphia Eagles. I think the Eagles at home win this one. They're a very solid team all around, and I think it keeps it close. The Jets, I don't think, will do too bad in this one. I think it's just going to be a case of a superior team winning a close game. Then you have the Chargers at the Broncos. I think Chargers win this one. Joe Flacco again. I don't know if he can carry this team. If the Broncos want to win this one, they're going to have to rely on the run game of Phillip Lindsay and Royce Freeman. And possibly Butt if he's healthy by then. Chargers, I think, overall have too much talent. Green Bay versus Dallas. I think Dallas wins this one. It's going to be the defense. I think it's going to have to be the secondary led by Byron Jones. If the Dallas Cowboys want to win this, they do have a good run defense and everything else, but the secondary is going to have to step up against Devontae Adams and Green Bay and Aaron Rodgers. It's going to be tough. Indy versus Kansas City. I have Kansas City winning this one by a lot. Their defense looks improved. Offense is incredible. Not much more to say. Cleveland versus San Fran. I think San Fran will struggle. Cleveland's defense will start stepping up a little bit right around this time. And I think that's enough of that. Week 6, Giants-Patriots. I picked the Patriots at home. Panthers-Buccaneers. I got the Panthers winning that one. Washington at Miami. This is Washington's first one of the season. Like I said, Miami does not look good. Philadelphia, Minnesota, I think this one's close, but I think Minnesota wins this one at home. Houston, Kansas City, I think this one's a lot closer than what Madden says. Houston, I think, wins this one in a shootout. This one could be like the Rams-Kansas City game of last year. New Orleans versus Jacksonville, I think New Orleans wins this one. Seattle, Cleveland, I think Seattle pulls off what may be considered an upset at this point, but I love Russell Wilson. He is an amazing competitor, and he pulls rabbits out of hats. Cincinnati versus Baltimore, although this one I think will be close. I'm picking Baltimore to win this one behind Lamar Jackson. San Fran versus the Rams. Rams should be way too much for San Fran to win this one, no offense. I think San Fran's still missing a few pieces on offense. Atlanta versus Arizona, I think Atlanta wins this one. Dallas, New York Jets, I think Dallas wins this one. Tennessee, Denver, I think Denver wins this one behind the power of that run game I did mention not too long ago with Royce Freeman and Phillip Lindsay. I think this is when they start picking it up a little bit in Denver. Whether it pulls off to a lot of wins, I don't think so, but still I think they win this one. Pittsburgh versus the Chargers, I do think the Steelers win this one. Although it will be a tough matchup, that offensive line for the Steelers, I think, will be what wins this. Phillip Rivers may make a couple of mistakes against Joe Hayden in the Steelers secondary, but we shall see. Start of the game, J.J. Watt, 2 sacks. Lions, Packers. Packers, I think, win this one, Lions, although they should be competitive in most weeks. Against the Packers, who know them well enough, I'm not sure. Chiefs, Broncos, I have the Chiefs winning this one, of course. It's the Chiefs. They're going to be very, very good this year, and they're probably going to be almost 6-0 in that division. Dolphins, Bills, I think the Bills win this one. Dolphins should keep this close. They usually play decent against the Buffalo Bills, but Josh Allen, I think, is going to be good this year. Jaguars, Bengals, Jaguars. Vikings, Lions, I'm picking the Vikings. Raiders, Packers, Packers. Rams, Falcons, Rams. Houston versus Indy, I'm picking the Texans. Picking 49ers over the Redskins. Giants over the Arizona Cardinals. Chargers over the Titans. Bears over the Saints. Seattle Seahawks over the Ravens. Cowboys over the Eagles. And the Patriots over the Jets. In Week 8, I got the Vikings over the Redskins. Falcons over the Seahawks. Titans over the Buccaneers, Saints over the Cardinals, Rams over the Bengals, Jaguars over the Jets, Eagles over the Bills, Bears over the Chargers, Giants over the Lions, Texans over the Raiders, Panthers over the 49ers, Patriots over the Browns, Colts over the Broncos, and Packers over the Kansas City Chiefs in an upset, and Pittsburgh over Miami. And then Week 9, where most of the bye weeks start really picking up, we got Arizona over San Francisco, Jacksonville over Houston, Philadelphia over Chicago. We have the Steelers over the Colts, the Jets over the Dolphins, the Chiefs over the Vikings, the Panthers over the Titans, Buffalo Bills over the Redskins, Tampa Bay Buccaneers over the Seahawks, Oakland over the Lions. And we have the Chargers over the Packers, Cleveland over Denver, New England over Baltimore, and New York Giants over the Dallas Cowboys in the upset. Week 10, we're getting closer to the end of the season, so bear with me. We have the Seattle Seahawks over the San Francisco 49ers, Dallas Cowboys winning at home against the Vikings, the Steelers losing a close one to the Rams, Miami Dolphins losing to the Colts in a close one, Buccaneers beating the Cardinals, Titans losing to the Chiefs, Jets beating the Giants, Bears beating the Lions, Saints beating the Falcons, Green Bay beating Carolina, Cleveland beating Buffalo, Baltimore beating Cincinnati, and Chargers beating Oakland. Week 11, you have the Browns beating the Steelers in an upset. You have Carolina beating Atlanta in an upset. Dallas beating Detroit. Jacksonville beating Indy. Buffalo beating Miami again. Houston losing to Baltimore in an upset. Minnesota beating Denver. Washington losing to New York Jets. Saints beating the Bucks. 49ers beating the Cardinals. The Raiders beating the Bengals. The Eagles beating the Patriots. Chicago Bears beating the Rams. And the Chargers beating the Chiefs in a close one. Then Week 12, we have the Rams beating the Ravens, the Eagles beating the Seahawks, the Green Bay Packers beating the 49ers, the Dallas Cowboys beating the Patriots, the Titans beating the Jaguars, the Raiders beating the Jets, Detroit beating Washington, Carolina losing to New Orleans, Atlanta beating Tampa Bay, Cleveland beating Miami, Pittsburgh beating Cincy, Chicago beating New York Giants, Buffalo beating the Broncos, Texans beating the Colts. If I do miss any of them saying it this fast, just pause and just look. That's why I'm scrolling through it at the same time, so you don't miss any. We have Chicago beating Detroit. We have the Bills losing to the Cowboys, Saints losing to the Falcons, Titans losing to the Colts, Jets beating the Bengals, Redskins losing to the Panthers, 49ers losing to the Ravens, Buccaneers losing to the Jacksonville Jaguars, Packers losing to the Giants in an upset, Eagles beating Miami, Oakland losing to Kansas City, the Rams beating Arizona, Cleveland losing to Pittsburgh in Pittsburgh, Chargers beating Denver, New England beating Houston, and what could be considered an upset at that point, Minnesota beating Seattle. And in the last 4 weeks of the season, when the playoff races start getting close, maybe some seeds get clinched, we have the Eagles beating the New York Giants, the Rams beating the Seattle Seahawks, Kansas City beating New England for the first time under Patrick Mahomes, Oakland Raiders beating Tennessee, Pittsburgh beating Arizona in a blowout, Chargers losing to the Jacksonville Jaguars with that tough secondary, Green Bay beating Washington, Cleveland beating Cincinnati, Baltimore beating Buffalo, Houston beating Denver, Minnesota beating Detroit, New Orleans beating San Fran, Miami beating the New York Jets, Tampa Bay beating Indy, Atlanta beating Carolina, Dallas beating Chicago. Week 15, we have the Jets beating the Baltimore Ravens, Seattle beating the Carolina Panthers, Philly beating the Washington Redskins, Houston beating Tennessee for a start of 4-0 for the away teams. We have Pittsburgh beating Buffalo, New York Giants beating Miami, Kansas City beating Denver, New England beating Cincinnati. If New England doesn't beat Cincinnati this year, I am going to cry. Detroit beats Tampa Bay, Chicago loses to Green Bay, Jacksonville beats the Raiders, the Browns beat the Cardinals, Falcons beat the 49ers, the Rams beat the Cowboys, Chargers beat the Vikings, and the Saints beat the Colts. In the last 2 weeks, when probably a loss means you're out of the playoffs, we have Green Bay beating the Minnesota Vikings, which in my final standings honestly could be the difference, is probably the difference maker here. The Vikings, or the Green Bay finishing ahead of the Vikings, but we'll get into that. Kansas City versus Chicago, Kansas City beats Chicago, Philly beats Dallas, Arizona loses to Seattle, Cincy loses to Miami, Carolina beats Indy, Baltimore beats Cleveland, Jacksonville loses to Atlanta, Houston beats Tampa Bay, the Rams beat San Fran, Buffalo barely loses to New England. I honestly think that one should be close. Pittsburgh beats the New York Jets and Le'Veon Bell. New Orleans beats Tennessee, New York Giants beat the Redskins, Oakland loses to the Chargers, and Detroit loses to Denver. And in the last week, where each matchup matters, we got the Pittsburgh Steelers losing to the Baltimore Ravens. Does this decide anything? I don't know. I haven't checked to see who actually has the second seed in the AFC yet. The Jets beat the Buffalo Bills. Tampa Bay loses to Atlanta Falcons. The Philadelphia Eagles beat the New York Giants. The New Orleans Saints beat the Carolina Panthers. Browns beat the Bengals. Redskins lose to the Cowboys. Green Bay beats Detroit. Tennessee loses to Houston. Indy loses to Jacksonville. Chargers lose to Kansas City. Chicago beats Minnesota. Miami loses to New England. In New England, Oakland beats Denver. Arizona loses to the Rams. San Fran loses to Seattle. That's the last pick. Now, this Chargers-Chiefs game, Week 17, you'll see why it's so important. Now, with all these matches played out, I'll go through the standings real quick, and we'll just go through the AFC. We'll go through the AFC North. We have the Steelers winning the AFC North with a 12-4 record, and the Browns getting a wild card at 11-5. We have in the AFC South the Texans winning the playoffs, or winning the division at 11-5, with the Jaguars barely missing the playoffs at 10-6. Now I had a team finishing 12-4 in the wild card, and with Cleveland being 11-5, 10-6 is just one game too short. AFC East, we have the Patriots at 13-3, who are the 5th ranked team in the NFL right now, which is odd. But as you can see, I have the Jets at 7-9, Bills at 6-10, and Dolphins at 2-4. Oh, by the way, in case you didn't notice, I have the Bengals going 0-16. I think the AFC North is stacked. They go 0-6 in that division, and like I said, they only have a couple of games I might consider them winning, but I don't think they should be favored in any one. Then you have the Chiefs with the number 1 seed, I believe, in the AFC, followed by the Chargers in a division with 12-4, and that's why I said that Week 17 matchup is really important, because honestly, that's probably going to determine who has the home field advantage in the AFC. And then in the NFC North, we have the Packers and the Bears both making the playoffs, with the Packers owning the tiebreaker. We have the NFC South with the Saints win, and the Falcons at 11-5 fall short just a little bit. Buccaneers at 5-11, I think is a solid season for them. Panthers at 9-7, I think is solid as well. Eagles at 13-3 and Cowboys at 12-4 both make the playoffs. Giants at 7-9, Redskins at 1-15. I think if the Giants went 7-9, a lot of people would be happy, mainly because with Eli Manning, if he plays the whole season and how bad that team initially looked, I think that would be pretty good. We have the Rams at 14-2, the top of the cream of the crop, best team in the NFL, with home field throughout the NFC. Seahawks 9-7, missing the playoffs. 49ers and Cardinals not being too competitive. As you can see, the 49ers lost 6 games straight, and the Cardinals lost 7 games straight. Now, that being said, I'm going to go back into this one to load the whole NFL standings. I think the MVP comes off the top 4 teams. Although I think Patrick Mahomes will have a good season, I do not think he will win MVP. I think the MVP of the season is going to be Todd Gurley in that revived Rams offense. If they go 14-2, if they're more a little bit down to earth, I'm looking for someone like an Alvin Kamara. I think a running back's going to win MVP this year. Call me crazy. Call me absolutely crazy. I don't care. Whether it be Kamara, whether it be Gurley, whether it be James Conner, I think a running back's going to win MVP. Coach of the Year. Now, Coach of the Year, that's going to be a tricky one to predict. I think the Coach of the Year, honestly, is probably going to be someone like Freddie Kitchens, especially if the Browns go 11-5. I think it's going to be a coach none of us expect. I don't think it's going to be the number 1 team. Honestly, I think it's going to be Freddie Kitchens or LaFleur of the Packers. Rookie of the Year, stuff like that. I won't go too deep into the predictions in that sense. I just will give a few people to look out for. I would look out for... Well, N'Keal Harry is on IR for the Patriots, so not him. Some of the rookies I would look out for consist of... I believe Pollard's a rookie. I'm not sure. Montgomery for the NFC. And I like Singletary of the Bills. That's who I was looking for. I was trying to think of his name, Singletary, for the Bills. I think they're probably the 2 leading candidates for Offensive Rookie of the Year. Defensively, that one's a little bit tougher. I'm trying to think defensively. I might have to go Ed Oliver of the Bills, and I might have to go with... I can't think of his name. I am sorry. I've been at this for a long time, and my brain's a little tired. So let's go to the playoff bracket, and let's force our way to the Super Bowl and see who wins each and every matchup. Now, with these seedings, this pits the Browns against the Steelers in the wild card. I think the Steelers win this one at home. I think overall veteran leadership is going to be the difference maker in this one. If the Browns are going to pull off the upset, they're going to need a healthy Kareem Hunt to be a big contributor in this one. Bears at the Eagles. I think the Bears win this one behind the force of their defense. I think their kicker actually makes a field goal late in this one. I think if one reason the Eagles struggle, it would be either Wentz is hurt at this point, or that run game just can't get it together against Khalil Mack and that Bears defense. Chargers at the Texans. I have the Chargers providing a very tough matchup in this one, but I honestly think the Texans pull off the upset. I think the Texans actually beat the Chargers, so I'm going to force the home win here. And then Cowboys at the Packers. I think the Cowboys win this one. As much as I don't want them to, I think the Cowboys win this one. Now, I've been hearing from some people that the Cowboys need to win need to make the NFC Championship game for it to be considered a success, but that I'm not too sure. I think they can be considered a success without winning. This pits the Texans against the Chiefs and the Steelers against the Patriots. And as much as I hate to do this, I'm going to pick the Steelers in this one. I think the one clear advantage the Steelers will have over the Patriots here is probably James Conner. I think they definitely have the more dynamic running back and the better running back, and I think they can ride him to victory, keep the ball away from Tom Brady in the playoffs, provide some pressure with J.J. Watt, probably expose Isaiah Wynn with T.J. Watt a little bit, and you have a good recipe there. Cowboys Saints. I'm picking the Saints to win this one at home. They've been devastated the last couple years. I think this time they turn it around. This one, I think the Bears win this one. I know it's going to be tough for the Bears to win this one with Mitch Trubisky. He's going to need to take a big step up this year, and I think he will. I think this one's going to ride off the back of Montgomery on the offense to carry the ball, drain the clock, and actually manage some positive yards against that defense of the Rams. I think this one's going to come against Khalil Mack and that defense for the Bears. Can they provide enough pressure against Jared Goff? We all saw how pressure can make Goff handle in the playoffs before against the Patriots. Will it happen again? We shall see. That's the tough part about when you make the Super Bowl, when you have a good year. Everyone sees how you play, what you do, and you gotta evolve. I don't know if Goff has that extra boost in him to evolve enough this year. I think overall he'll make it to the Super Bowl in 1 year, but I don't think it'll be this year. Then the Chiefs at the Texans. I think the Chiefs win this one. Mahomes should have a good enough game, maybe 450 yards, something like that. It's going to be a high-scoring game in that one. And that pits the Steelers against the Chiefs and the Bears against the Saints and the championship games. Oh, God, I'm starting to run out of breath. I've been talking for so long. Yeah, the Steelers at the Chiefs. I think the Steelers win this one at home. And, yes, I have the Steelers going to the playoffs. And Bears at the Saints. I want to be bold here. I'm gonna be bold here. I'm picking the Bears to win this. If you remember last year, I think it's been a long time since both teams won the conference championship at home or on the road. And last year, I believe the Rams beat the Saints on the road and the Patriots beat the Chiefs on the road. And I think this year it happens again. But the Saints are on the fucking losing end again. I didn't want to do that to them, but I want to pick the Bears to make it to the Super Bowl. What does this do? This means the Super Bowl will be the Chicago Bears versus the Pittsburgh Steelers. Oh, I should have not advanced to the next week. I should have just went to the next... No, advance the week. Advance the week, man. So that means the Super Bowl is going to be the Bears versus the Steelers. And honestly, as much as I love the Steelers in this one, and as much as I think they should be favored and handily would be favored, I think we're going to see something similar to the 2001 Patriots versus the Rams, where the Rams are heavy favorites. And as stupid as this is, I'm picking the Bears to win the Super Bowl. I am picking the Chicago Bears to go 11-5, win the wild card, and win the Super Bowl against the Pittsburgh Steelers. And that is the end. As crazy as it is, I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.